What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Arena. Today I'm joined with Oliver yet again. We're going to break down the championship games from last week. Then we're going to add in our other friend from Erie, Conrad, and then we'll talk about the political happenings of the week and how they also relate to sports because we do live in a simulation. What's up, Oliver?
Uh, Good intro.
Thank
Pretty good week. The Eagles won in convincing fashion. Jalen Hurts was phenomenal under pressure. The haters are silent. Yourself, Noah.
Oh, no, I've had other stuff to hate on. I also did
Respect that.
not want to accidentally go viral for an anti-Eagles take this week and then have to go to Philly.
I respect it.
I
You
feel
saw the
like
glorious king.
dude, let me tell you. I saw him drop 30 points. Now we did lose and it was pretty miserable. Especially, okay, are you aware of like South Philly lore?
A little bit.
It's basically all the racist Italians live in South Philly.
Oh yes, yes, Delco, right?
Yes. Oh, no, no, no. Delco is a completely different neighborhood. South
That's
Philly is
Delaware
like
County.
South Philly near the stadium.
Uh, I see.
So I feel like a couple of those humans were sitting around me because every time Bronny touched the ball, there were comments made. And I so badly wanted him to do one thing good in that game just so I could talk some shit on his behalf. But unfortunately, that was probably the worst game he played so far.
Oh, so wait, I haven't been paying too much attention to the NBA. Bronny's back.
Yeah, so Bronny, so I think they're just like alternating between the G League and just regular games.
Hmm.
And so like last week he dropped 31 in the G League. And then so he's on the road trip with them. They're on like a 10-day road trip right now. So he's on the road trip with them. And they literally played him like they put him in the first quarter
Hmm.
because we were just hit with injuries and I don't think JJ really knew what to do on when Anthony Davis got hurt. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, it was he didn't play well. LeBron had a good game. Tyrese Maxey did drop 43 on us.
Tyrese, man, love
Dude,
Tyrese.
he's so good.
Dude, he's gonna be I mean him and Jared McCain, honestly, that's the future of
It
Philadelphia
is,
basketball right there.
but also to kind of blend sports and politics, one of my Philly friends put Josh Harris on the same list of people that he hates alongside Elon Musk and Donald Trump. So that
Josh
is,
Harris is a terrible person. I hate him too.
well, yeah, especially because he took out a full page ad for the Commanders fans and never once did that for the Sixers.
He
Dude,
he
they
should
were
just sell
so
the
bad.
team. Just
They were
sell the
so bad.
team. He's
Okay,
not going to, but
you know what I was thinking? I told this to my Philly friends too. You know how Jeffrey Lurie wants to buy the Celtics because he's from Boston?
that's the rumor, yeah.
Right? Imagine if he
Mhm.
just bought the Sixers instead, and then Josh Harris could buy the Wizards.
Damn. I mean, no, he doesn't own the Wizards. You're right. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't be
Because
crazy.
Wizards ownership is not great.
Yeah, Ted Leons or whatever the hell his name is
Yeah,
when they tried to move the team to Virginia.
yeah. So they're not great. So
Yeah.
let Josh Harris run both Washington teams because he's already popular there, and let Jeffrey Lurie run both Philly teams because he's already popular there.
That's true. I mean, as a DC native, I mean, I would say that a DC native with the big Texas flag in the back, but I mean, I would say that DC just has shitty sports ownership, and it's not even like a crazy thing. Harris is easily the best owner, but like the Lerners suck, Ted Leon sucks, the Leons, they're just not great owners.
I understand like the Philly fan hate in this situation because it's like he's owned one of your teams and not done anything constructive. And
Hmm.
then he takes over a rival football team and they immediately go to the NFC championship game.
Exactly.
And he's doing a good job over there. But also, I think, for the Commanders, he hired Adam Peters and Dan Quinn and let them do their thing. I think he thinks that he's hiring good people and letting them do their thing. Because, like, what? Daryl Morey is still the GM of the Sixers,
He
right?
needs to fire Daryl Morey. Yeah.
No, Daryl Morey, however, was a good hire because he was one of the best GMs in recent history
Oh,
in
at the
the
time,
NBA.
100%.
Right? Same thing. Doc Rivers wasn't a good hire at the time, but Nick Nurse is a good coach and hire.
Phenomenal hire. I love the nurse
Now,
hire.
is it as good as JJ Redick? No.
Yes, way better.
No.
Way better.
No.
Stop tripping, Noah.
I'm not.
You're a JJ Redick stan, and that's not what we're talking about right now.
All I'm saying is the change in the Sixers versus the change in the Lakers year by year from last year to this year. Much better. Even like what's it called? The last Doc year to the first Nick Nurse year. Way better. The Lakers are like the 10th seed at this point last season. Now we're the fifth seed.
Yeah, but the West isn't as good as it was last year,
That's not
right?
true.
I mean,
The West is still stacked. Like, dude, think about it. Besides the Sacramento Kings, who are still like somewhat respectable and they have good players, that's the only dumpster fire in the West right now. It's probably and the Phoenix Suns, but like, they still win some games because they have that much talent. But like other than that, there's like besides the Blazers, there's no team in the West that just outright sucks.
I mean, it kind of makes the same argument for the East. It's not too. I mean, look, the West isn't phenomenal, but they definitely have stepped up. But then that being said, it is only January. I mean, getting it as a 5 seed, we'll see what they do from there.
I mean, we're about to trade for De'Aaron Fox, so I think it's gonna get better.
Okay. No,
Now,
Lakers
see,
fans and Cowboys fans are like
okay, don't compare us.
intertwined.
Don't
You come
no
100%. It's the
no.
same argument that they all Cowboys fans make. They're like, oh, everyone wants to come to Dallas. It's a desirable market. You're going to make so much money here. And then no one comes to Dallas. Who was the last major free agent signing the Lakers signed besides LeBron James?
We got the go. Does anything else matter?
Name another one.
Shaq, free agent signing.
I'm talking about modern day. This is it. And
Hey,
you can also throw in the Yankees here, except the Yankees actually make big
so
moves.
here's the thing. We haven't first of all, once again, we got LeBron James to sign with us after being in the lottery for 5 seasons. The biggest selling point was that we had Magic Johnson to recruit him, and we were the Lakers.
I'm
There's
sorry, but
literally no other reason for him to
who
come to LA.
I remember that free agency. The other two major contenders were what? The Sixers. He wasn't going to go to the Sixers.
I don't
And then it
care
was
who they
Houston.
were.
He didn't want to go to Houston. I think he
Dude,
should have gone to Houston, though.
he won a championship here. Him and Harden are not playing well together ever.
No, not at all. I agree. But
Like,
like,
there's
still
no
though,
reason. I mean, he
I am talking within the last 5 years.
free agent signing.
Yeah,
We haven't made
major.
any major free agent signings because we haven't had the money because we're paying. We don't have the money to make a major free agent signing. If we had the money, we would have got basically in terms of free agent signing. We got first of all, this is another thing. This is the longest that LeBron has stayed on one team ever.
Yeah.
And it's been chaotic as hell. And to the fact that he's still staying is a testament to our ownership and just everything in LA right now.
I mean, not the fact that it's the Los Angeles Lakers and everyone knows who they are.
Which once again, thank you for playing into my
No,
argument.
I agree. But again, no, who signed? You
Mello.
haven't gotten anyone
We got
major.
Mello.
Who?
Mello.
Carmelo Anthony.
Carmelo Anthony.
Fossilized Carmelo Anthony.
Hey, he was still good. He was coming off of
He was
the
hitting threes coming off the bench. This is in 2000, what, 2012?
Okay, so the only here, I'll say it this way. The only major free agent that the Lakers have gone after in the last like 15 years, basically, okay, only major free agent post Kobe retiring that they've gone after that said no to them is Paul George. And given how everything has played out in Paul George's career, I am very, very happy that he did not sign with the LA Lakers.
I mean,
Other
listen,
than that, literally the last two major free agent signings in Laker history are Luol Deng and Timothy Mozgov in 2016, and
I'm
we finished paying off those contracts 2 years ago.
I'm telling you, it's not a very desirable
And
spot. I don't think
see,
people really want to
the
go to
thing
LA like
is,
that.
I don't think that's true. This is completely off a tangent of what we were supposed to talk about, but this is interesting. The Cowboys are not desirable because Jerry Jones literally treats them like a soap opera. He lets them go through.
Dude, you're telling me the Lakers aren't? I mean,
No.
they just drafted Bronny. He is
Okay,
nothing. He
here's the
should not have
thing.
been drafted.
Here's the thing. The five guys ahead of Bronny are averaging like 2 points a game in the G League right now. Bronny's dropping 20 a night in the G League.
Okay. He still shouldn't have. The only reason
He
he got
okay.
drafted is because his name is Bronny.
Is there an undrafted rookie like there's like a Gabe Vincent or Duncan Robinson at somewhere in the NBA right now that's falling out? No. Of the people that
Doesn't
were
matter.
of the
The only reason he got that chance is straight nepotism, though.
of the people that were available at the time, that was legitimately the best draft pick. If you want to get at the Lakers for nepotism or listening to someone's dad and drafting them, we listened to LeVar Ball for some reason and drafted Lonzo Ball, and we could have had Jason
No.
Tatum, or we could have
Yeah,
had
fair
De'Aaron
enough.
Fox, or we could have had Donovan Mitchell. That was worse than drafting Bronny James with 5 picks to go in the NBA
That's a
draft.
hindsight pick though. That I believed in the Lonzo hype. Come
Okay,
on. I
so did
remember that
I.
draft. I was a Sixers fan.
So
I
did
mean,
I.
dude,
However,
no one expected Tatum to be that phenomenal as a top
however,
three pick.
however, however, there's literally no one that the Lakers could have added with pick 55 this year that wouldn't have been it. And also, it's probably like top five, like coolest sports moment ever. Those two playing with each other
Not top five.
not like in terms of like physical accomplishment, but like top five, I'd say like wholesome wise or like just like in that realm of sports moments, I'd say that's top five. And also, legitimately, he's gonna be good. People forget that he almost died less than 2 years ago.
No, I remember that.
Bronny's gonna be good in the NBA.
I still personally think he shouldn't. I think nepotism is the only reason he got drafted.
Okay,
I don't think like
no,
skill wise he should have been.
that's the other thing. Teams wanted to draft him earlier than 55, and Rich Paul literally said, "Nope, he's going to LA."
I don't know,
Teams
man.
wanted to draft. Now, if a team had wanted to draft him in the first round, I think no one would have said no to that. But after it got through like pick 40, I think they were just like, "Yep, he's going to LA now," and they said no to every team that he even called.
Yeah, I
But
understand. I don't know. I think Bronny's going to be good, but I still think LA is just not the place to be. I mean, it's like
okay,
Dallas. It's like
say
hell.
say
The Knicks
po-
are getting free agency
say
signings.
post Braun, right? You have AD, you got Austin Reeves, you got Max Christie, who's been good. You still got Bronny. Let's just say players are gonna come to LA still. Why?
Not superstars like that.
Yes, they will.
I'm waiting. I mean, this is what Cowboys fans have been saying for
No,
years.
here's the thing. Here's why you can't compare. The Lakers are legitimately still outside of the Patriots. The Lakers are the most successful sports organization in the last since 2000, and they have won a
Since
champ.
2000.
They
What?
won a
Okay.
championship
What
in
about since
every.
2010? What do they got?
They,
Like two?
they won a championship in every single decade. They're the only team to do that.
Two in the last 20 years.
That's they
No,
won
not
it.
20 years. I'm sorry. You're
They
right.
won. The Lakers have won a championship in the 80s, 90s,
No,
2000s,
no, I agree.
2010s, and 2020s.
No, I
We're
agree.
set. We've already won a championship. And legitimately, once again, I saw a TikTok about this today. This is just a gripe. We're done talking about basketball to us. The Lakers before LeBron and AD got hurt in the year after their championship, they were 21-5 when the injuries started happening.
We have had this discussion. I 100% agree that 2020 Lakers team was phenomenal. I think LeBron should have been the MVP that year. I think AD should have won Defensive Player of the Year. I agree with you on this. I still don't think many free agents want to go to Los Angeles.
I
I don't
think
think
they
many
do.
free agents want to go to the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees will always get someone, but I don't know.
Same
It's just
thing with
high
the.
taxes, stuff like that.
Here's the thing.
Too much media attention.
That's fine, but the Lakers have also like that stretch of time between like 2016 and 2019. 3 years is the longest that this team has gone without a star player since the 80s.
Wait, 20,
Kobe
2019,
Kobe retired in 2016 and LeBron came in 2019.
and they haven't had a star player since, dude, they haven't had a
No,
star player since
no. They
2019.
didn't. They didn't have a star player between 2016 and 2019.
Oh, I see. I thought you were talking about signing. Yeah, no, that's
No,
fair.
right? That's literally the
Yeah, that's
longest
fair.
that this team has gone without a star player since
Okay,
like
understandable.
Pat Riley took over. Like legitimately, if you look at any North American sports franchise outside of the Patriots, and you know what, including the Patriots, since the 90s, 1980s, this is the most successful sports franchise in the world, probably, in terms of
Yankees,
everything that they did.
Yankees, Spurs, Patriots. Um, I can think of a few others: Barcelona, Real Madrid, hell, Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool. And probably not Liverpool. I'll take
There's a lot
Liverpool
of
off that
cheating
list.
going on in some of these organizations that you're naming.
Man City is a bunch of cheaters. I 100% agree with you. But I mean, that's seven off the top of my head, though.
I don't know if they're more successful than the Lakers.
Yankees, Cardinals won a bunch. The Red Sox won a few. I
Okay,
mean,
okay, really
Penguins are a
quickly,
dynasty.
really quickly. The Lakers have 17 championships.
Mhm.
I think like 15 of those are post 1980.
No, I agree. Well, if we're talking about 1980, that's okay, fair enough. I'm talking
That's
about
a,
since the year 2000, though. I
oh no,
mean,
since the year 2000, there are other like the Warriors are up there. The Patriots are obviously number
but
one.
this also plays into my point, though. You guys are a lot like Cowboys fans. You guys refuse. I mean, it's the past. I mean, like, you
Okay,
guys are talking about stuff from the 80s. Who
here's
cares about the 80s?
here's what else you have to understand. We have Braun right now. We're chilling. Like being
You
a basketball.
chilling, you're chilling and haven't won a title since 2020.
Okay,
Isn't that the point of
there
the
are
whole
other
league?
very very good teams. There's a lot of parity in the NBA right now. It's not like the 2010s when there's literally no other good team in the East outside of wherever Braun was,
No, I agree.
and it didn't matter. Like right now, this is probably the most parity that the NBA's ever had.
And thank God for it.
100%. Okay, Chiefs
Okay, we should
Bills.
go to the NFC Championship.
I was thinking that we do AFC first, we speed run it, and then we talk about the Eagles with like a little bit more depth.
Fair enough. I have my notes. I'm ready
Bet.
whenever you are.
All right, Chiefs win 32-29. And my thing in this are like the Patriots at their peak. The Patriots kind of, you know how they kind of just felt inevitable, like it just felt like the other team would mess something up
Yeah.
and the Patriots would just go and win the game,
Mhm.
right? It feels like that
Just
with the
like, oh,
Chiefs.
they're going to win inevitably. That's how I felt in this game too. I mean, it just seemed like Patrick Mahomes is going to do some shit. Something will happen. They're going to win. I mean, I wrote in my notes, vintage Chiefs. Pat Mahomes doing prime time every single time, right? I mean, he's going to win these games. And other side of the same coin, vintage Bills. They're going to lose the big time game. I think we need to start having a serious discussion about Josh Allen in the playoffs.
I don't think so.
He's not a playoff quarterback.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Yes,
The
he
man,
is.
he folds under pressure. He cannot do it in the big
Okay,
moment.
that throw.
Him, Lamar,
Okay,
the only one who has proven to me that he can do it is Joe Burrow.
I agree because
Those two just can't do it.
he's the only. Here's the thing. You're falling into a trap right now,
Mhm.
right? And I don't blame you because I have been in that same spot. And I also just think that a lot of sports media, like this is automatically what you go to, like, oh, they can't win. It is literally probably what's going to end up being the greatest, if not the second greatest dynasty in pro football ever.
100%.
Right? So it's not that he's bad under pressure. That throw that he made to Dalton Kincaid on that fourth down was a beautiful throw, like a top 10 throw of the season that any quarterback has made because he was under pressure running backwards and still dropped a dime, and the dude just dropped it. It was a
I
hard
mean,
catch to make.
Jalen Hurts does the same thing in that game. If you remember Devontae Smith,
Which game?
that Devontae, the we'll get to that later.
Uh, Oh, this game? The community? I
Yeah,
mean, it didn't
Eagles,
really matter at
Eagles.
the end of the day.
No, it didn't, but still.
But, right? No, so literally drops it. And I think that Josh played well. They scored 29 points. They had a
Mhm.
very, very good game. However, and this is what I talk about when I say that the Chiefs is the Chiefs, that it's not even like right, there's been a lot of conversation about the refs, which in the Houston game, the officiating was really shitty. And Walt Anderson's old that should not be put out on TV saying that ooh the officiating was good. That is literally
Mhm.
the sports equivalent of putting the Clintons on the campaign trail,
100% agree.
right? However, in this game, yeah, the fourth down little controversial, but also
Hold on. A little controversial? No. I mean, he got that. There's no reason they should have overturned that. He had that first down. I mean,
I
I'm not going to say it's because the Chiefs. I'm going to say that was an
I
officiating
think
problem.
it's more just referee error at this point. But also, it is like a model situation, and you are dealing with like 70-year-old refs out there. So like I think James Cook is the one that said it, and I think this should be like the MO when something like this happens. Just don't put yourself in a position where you leave it up to the refs to decide if you win or not,
100%.
right?
100%.
So
I think
yeah, it
that
was
I think
a shady ass call, but at the same time,
they
this
should have won
Chiefs
that game.
this Chiefs offense first time all year going over 30
You
points.
no, I mean, I've been thinking about this all week. I think if the Eagles were to put 35 on the Chiefs, I don't think the Chiefs win. I
I
mean,
don't know about that.
That Eagles defense is better than that
Here's
Bills
okay.
defense.
So I
Leaps
don't.
and bounds
I,
better.
I want to wait till next week to fully break down the Super Bowl matchup,
Hmm.
right? But what I will say, really quickly, is you forget that Andy Reid has 2 weeks.
So does
What?
Sirianni.
That's fine.
Sirianni has only lost one game with 2 weeks of with more than 2 weeks of prep.
Was that the Super Bowl?
That was the Super Bowl, and putting the Eagles. I mean,
You
the
want to
refs
know
put us in a
something
position
else?
to lose that game. What?
Once again, we'll have a full discussion next week about previewing the Super Bowl. Fangio's 0-8 against Mahomes.
I mean, we'll see. I still this is the best defense that Mahomes has had to face this year. And I mean, let's just cycle in. I don't think we have much more to say about the we don't really have much more to say
Oh,
about the AFC
yeah,
game, do we?
for sure. Like, once again, oh, okay, wait, one thing really quickly. Sorry. If I told you before this game that Travis Kelce would have 2 catches for 19 yards, ain't no way that we think that the Chiefs win that game,
No, not at all.
right? And I think that's what's scary about the Chiefs team is Marquise Brown stepped up, Xavier Worthy stepped up,
Yeah,
Juju Smith-Schuster had 70 receiving yards
that's wild.
on 3 catches. He was their big
Wild.
play guy. D Hop had a couple of targets, and like Kelsey was literally like fourth option.
Wild.
And
No,
if
it's insane.
all I'm saying is if Travis Kelsey is somehow the fourth option during the Super Bowl, that means that this offense is cooking because they go to Kelsey when they're in trouble.
I, I mean, think about it this way though, too. I mean, our fourth option is Devontae Smith at this point.
I mean, yeah, no. Like, I'm not comparing. I'm just saying
No, I
defensively.
agree. I agree. No, that is a very good point.
But like I
But
said, I want to do a full breakdown on this
next week.
next week. Now let's talk about the Commies Eagles. The Eagles won
Okay.
55-23.
Now, if you had to have guessed in the last 6 games, how many turnovers did the Eagles have?
0.
No, no, I mean, how many forced turnovers does the
Oh,
defense have?
at least 12.
20.
Jesus Christ.
20 turnovers,
Okay,
fumbles, interceptions,
really
stuff like
quickly,
that.
really quickly. Some of these fumbles have literally been the other team dropping the ball.
I can think of two.
Okay, like see,
Stafford, and that's the only one I can genuinely think of.
no, the Diami Brown one was a perfect punch, but bro was swinging that ball around like that was waiting to come out.
Still, I mean, the
No,
ball
it's
came out though.
phenomenal. Absolutely, like legitimately one of the best runs that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, but the defense is turning up at the perfect time. Nolan Smith is having the best stretch of his career. Jalen Carter's been a baller. He didn't even really do much this game, but he still has an impact. Jalen Carter, I mean not Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, our other Georgia defensive tackle. Dude, he had a great game. And hell, Jinx Hunt from freaking Houston Christian College. That man had a he out. I mean, the Eagles are getting production from all over the field. Will Shipley, dude had a forced fumble, 77 yards on kick returns, and then he had a 60-yard touchdown. I mean, this Eagles team is clicking at the right time. Jalen
They
Hurts
are.
had the best game of his season, probably. I think that's a fair point. Best
I wouldn't
throwing
say
game of
I
his.
wouldn't say season because before the injury started happening and like just the Eagles offense like kind of had a downturn passing wise and then they ended up just like being a run first offense. Couple games in the beginning of the season he did cook.
It was that Saints game is his season high. It was like 300 and I think it was
Yeah.
like 300 passing yards. We only scored. I think we scored 10 points on that game.
Yeah, like okay, the other thing I think in this game, and I'm not trying to rage bait or anything. Yeah, you scored 55 points. It was an insanely good offensive outing. I think the score is a little inflated on your end. You
Because
did
Deron
score.
Payne was out.
No. Just like garbage time touchdowns,
That's true.
right? Like I think no, like I'm not taking anything away
No,
from
I
y'all,
agree. I agree.
right? But like Will Shipley scored a touchdown,
He did. No, Will
right?
Shipley's a baller.
He is. He's very good. I was pissed when y'all drafted him. But what I want to talk about really quickly before we move on is,
Mhm.
and this is something that's bothered me since then, and I love Dan Quinn. I think Dan Quinn is a great coach. Dan Quinn has obviously done an insanely good job turning around this football team. However, that first drive of the game, you've held the ball for 7 minutes. You're in the middle
Yes.
of an 18 play drive. You've already gone for it twice on fourth down. Why don't you go for it again? You know your defense is about to get cooked.
You know what? I was thinking the same fucking thing. I was scared that first drive. When they kicked that field goal, I was thinking, what the fuck is he thinking?
Because
What is this conservative bullshit? They would have scored. That would have been a touchdown. That's how you
because
beat the Eagles. I mentioned this last week. You tire out that defense. They had the ball for 7 minutes, and they said, "We're good with the field goal."
yeah, and
You
then
would have
what
scored.
happens? Saquon scores on one
And
play.
yep.
Second drive, you still like the defense is probably still gassed. You still have
Oh
an
yeah.
effort to do it, and then Diami Brown fumbles. You guys score again. The game's basically over at that point.
That wasn't over.
It
No, it
wasn't
wasn't.
over, but it was basically over.
No, it wasn't. Come on. It
Nah,
was
dude.
they were down by two
They
points before the second half.
they came back. They clawed their way back into it, but after that, it was just like sometimes you can just tell.
I
Sometimes you can just
I
tell.
mean, I think the second half I would agree, but it was not basically over, I don't think. I know
And
what you
I
mean, and I do agree, but I disagree with that. But I think, I mean, I don't know. The Eagles are just turning up at the right time. So are the
they
Chiefs.
are.
So I'm assuming this is going to be a really good Super Bowl.
I'm very excited for it. I think it's gonna be great.
I think, yeah, I mean, we just Jalen Hurts is doing what he needs to do right now. He's coming in. I mean, and another thing we mentioned this last week, but the pressure. Hurts was phenomenal under pressure this week. I
No, he
mean,
was not.
yes, he was.
He was 3 for 8 for 31 yards.
3 for 8 for 30. Still, that's still not bad.
No, that's
But that being
basically
said, two of those passes were dropped.
that's
You do
on
remember that?
pace. That's on pace for no, according to PFF, there are no drops accounted for on this. He also took
Dude,
2 sacks under pressure.
still though, he had a great game.
So
Also,
no.
that's
He played a
okay,
very good game
okay.
overall. He played a great game overall. Once again, though, pressure, holding on to the ball too long, taking sacks.
He took 2 sacks compared to what versus the Rams game was like
I
what,
mean,
8 sacks?
you're playing a much worse defensive line without their best player.
Okay, okay. Deron Payne is not their best player on that defensive line.
Who is?
Jonathan Allen, Dorrance Armstrong, I would take those two over Deron Payne. Deron Payne's phenomenal, but he's not the best player on that defensive line.
I don't know if Dorrance Armstrong is better, bro.
Dorrance Armstrong is a baller.
Welcome back. Like I said, we're transitioning a little bit now. It does involve sports because Stephen A. Smith, probably the most prominent sports personality in the United States, outside maybe Pat McAfee right now, is posted a poll the other day where he had a 2%, I guess 2% poll. I don't know how to describe it, but 2% of the people said that they want Stephen A to be president in 2028 is how I read it, which is wild. So just off rip, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Conrad, you
You
want to go
know,
first?
I'll say this. I think it speaks to, I mean, that is pretty wild. But I think it speaks like people want an outsider. I think we need like new fresh blood to like represent the Democratic Party. I think honestly, they're too buttoned up. You look at their like tweets now and like they're pretty incongruent with the temperature of the climate right now. And like fundamentally, we need people to show up and I think the allure of part of the allure of Trump is calling it how it is. And someone needs to get up there and just say, this is bullshit. Look around you. This is bullshit. This is chaos. This isn't good for you. This isn't good for me. This instability, like it's unproductive. And I mean, Stephen A, he's not afraid of a hot take. He's not afraid to tell it like it is. He's not afraid to tell what he feels. And like, I see it. He's not afraid to go on Hannity and go toe to toe with him. And like fundamentally, we need Democratic representatives to go in there. And I don't want to say get into a shouting match, but show strength. We need strength right now from
Someone to stir
somebody.
the pot.
Absolutely. We need our agitator. Every in hockey, you love your agitator. If you're playing against that agitator, you hate him, but when he's yours, you love him. We need an agitator.
Exactly. I mean, a couple of years ago, it was there was a House seat in California that was up, and Cenk Uygur, if you know him from TYT, he ran for that seat. He got his ass kicked, but his whole thing was, I'm going to be the attack dog for the progressive left for the squad. I'm going to be the one to go in there, stir the pot, fuck shit up, and we need that. No, I 100% agree with you, Conrad. I mean, at a certain point, I mean, for God's sakes, none of the major Democratic candidates for 28 said anything about Trump pardoning the January 6 people. They're too scared. They want to have their message tested ideas out. They want it to be perfect. Where you have someone like Stephen A. Smith, he'll say it just off the rip. You don't. I 100% agree. I think the poll's bullshit, but no, we do need an outsider. We need someone who isn't scared, who isn't like doesn't have the consultant class backing him. Someone who's going to fuck shit up.
No, I completely agree with you guys. I think the other thing that would very much help us with is the young men demographic. Because which dude on earth did not grow up watching First Take,
Mm-hmm.
and who doesn't want to be Stephen A. Smith? Because I think it's appealing, and not just men, but once again, the young men demographic is the most problematic for the Democratic Party currently. And which young person on like right now, most young men would kill to just get paid to talk about sports on TV,
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So he represents this like thing that all of us have wanted to do. He is someone that most people have listened to. If you're a sports fan, you've listened to Stephen A. like a countless amount of times. He has been very, very prominent. This is part of the reason why I was also like I've thrown around Mark Cuban a couple times,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not because I
Yeah,
think they would be good presidents or anything like that, but they would be phenomenal messengers and people to
yeah.
have out there.
well,
I
sorry, go ahead, Oliver. My
no,
apologies.
no. I love the idea of having an outsider, but and I think we discussed this a little bit last week, Noah, like with the Mark Cuban and the outsiders. I think, yeah, no, I don't know. We just do need a messenger, and I think someone who I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought.
But I think people can sense um, when a speaker is genuine or not. And when you're so buttoned up and stuffy and you can't say anything wrong, you get kind of pigeonholed into bland, generalized statements. And there is something to people were hurting and that wasn't acknowledged. And I mean, hindsight's always 2020. Hindsight's always 2020. I think Harris did run a great campaign for the position she was put in, but it would have been relieving to hear this shit sucks. No one's getting ahead. It's okay to feel angry. I'm pissed off too. I'm pissed off too. This is, you were told to do certain things in your life, go to college, get a good education. Now you're buried in debt. You're never going to get out of it. It's almost like you're you're a failure. Like I feel like so many people feel like they're failures and they're not. Just there's so many headwinds against the common person here. And we need to acknowledge those and take care of those. Like how are you going to help me? Fundamentally, that's all people care about. How are you going to help me? And
100%.
that needs to be communicated in a way people are receptive to it. We got to meet the people where they're at.
hmm I
Exactly.
think uh, Scott Galloway, who Conrad, I know you're a fan of, and we've talked about him off camera before, but he made a great point. I don't know if you guys have watched Diary of a CEO at all. It's a podcast by this dude in England, but he had like three people on. Scott Galloway was like the person representing the left, and then I think a more moderate guy and a right wing guy. And Scott Galloway basically said that the two biggest groups to shift were Gen Z men and their moms, basically.
Mm,
Because if you think about it, a lot of men in the Gen Z demographic are don't really know what to do with their lives right now. So they've shifted, and then their moms are seeing what's happening to their kids, and they're like, and they're shifting. And what I thought was a phenomenal point that I hadn't thought of before is the fact that so many kids are getting rich online now, and then most of the population of kids is just seeing these other people get rich fast, like, I'm sure that's not great either for some people's mental psyche. And I sent this to Oliver earlier today, like 40% of the wealth in this country is controlled by the top 1%.
Yep.
Mhm.
Like,
And on the bottom 50% control 2.4%. I mean, that the wealth gap in this country is massive. And I'd like to add on to this actually, Noah. Sorry
mhm,
for interrupting, but
you're good.
I mean, and coming from personal experience myself, I'm born and raised in Washington, D.C. And if you know anything about Washington, D.C., it's one of the most expensive cities in the United States. I mean, even if I had a well-paying job, which right now I do not, but even if I did, I would never be able to afford to live on my own without having three or four roommates. I mean, I think the price for a studio is $2,000. I mean, it's a situation where you're told by the age of 18 you need to move out, you need to have a girlfriend, you need to have a wife. And it's like, well, no, half the young men don't have half of that stuff. And it's like you're, as Conrad said, they label yourself as a failure. And you have people like Donald Trump, Andrew Tate, um, who are another right wing influencers basically saying, no, this is how you're gonna fix your life. You are a failure, stuff like that. But they're giving them comfort, right? If that makes any sense.
100%. I think what happens is, and I think it's the same reason why people go deep into religion. It's the same people why people go deep into astrology or something else that they believe in. It's when you're stuck in life and like you don't see any way out, you're very, very impressionable, and whatever like claims to help you, or like a show comes out, like, ooh, Joe Rogan wants to help you, Theo on, they're gonna give you advice. They're gonna have other people on that are gonna give you advice. You're gonna slowly fall into that echo chamber, and you're going to just believe what they say. And then ultimately, a lot of people end up finding happiness by being an incel on the internet, quite frankly. And they're still not going outside. They're still not legitimately making a meaningful change in their lives to be better. But instead, they're getting their dopamine hit from just saying hateful shit on the internet.
Yep. And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, but the right wing really has just weaponized and monopolized the young men's crisis in this country.
They
I
have.
mean, there
Like,
is like it there, and you just say young men's crisis. That is a bit of a red pill, and not a red pill, but a dog whistle. I mean, it's unfortunate, but Democrats aren't going after that enough. I mean, we need solutions to figure out how to help these young men out. I mean, and you know how you do that? You just economics, just like jobs guarantee, federal jobs guarantees. Make sure they don't have to pay for insurance. Make sure that they're not getting screwed when they pay their phone bill or they pay for gas at the pump or something. I mean, it's all boils down to basic economics.
right? And the unfortunate thing is that every Democratic president that we've had since we've been elected, basically Obama and Biden, have been phenomenal for the economy. It's just that both of them struggled in fully getting that message out. And this is going to piss off some people, but there is a cancel culture on mainstream media, but it's not towards the right, it's towards the left, quite frankly.
100%.
Literally every single news network wanted Donald Trump to win so the more people watch the news.
There's a chart that I always love to point out, and it's from 2016 to 2020, MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, their viewership just skyrocketed. From 2020 to 2024, viewership spiked because no one, who cares? Who cares what Joe Biden's doing? Inflation Reduction Act, I don't give a shit about that. I mean, it's just entertainment. People are taking the news as entertainment, and that is really hurting us. And
Mhm.
we're not entertainers, I guess, on the left, or we don't have good
So
entertainers like Donald Trump.
Scott Galloway wrote a book called Adrift that I'm currently reading, and it's a story of America in 100 charts.
Mhm.
And one of them is literally time that I think it's either CNN or MSN. I think it's CNN. Time they spent covering Jeff Bezos going to space in a rocket, and time they spent on the climate crisis in a single year, and it was literally an equal amount minute wise.
It's wild.
Because No one wants to see a panda dying or ice melting, but ooh, Jeff Bezos is going to space. That's going to make some people mad and some people happy.
It's
Yeah.
just division.
And I think what's cool is that we're getting more and more independent news outlets. Shout out Aaron Parnas. Bro has literally taken over my TikTok feed.
Kyle Kalinske, breaking points. I don't agree with them all
Yeah,
the time, but love them. The Majority
yeah,
Report, stuff like
yeah,
that. I mean,
right.
independent media is the way to go.
And I think that's really cool. But then the danger with that, and Conrad, you mentioned this today, is we get stuck in our own little echo chambers and
Hmm.
then we don't want to hear the other side at all. And that's kind of where we are right now.
Exactly. And I mean, for myself at least, and I I think Conrad, you're going to want to say something after this, but I mean, going to Erie, going to just northwestern Pennsylvania has just been phenomenal for me. I mean, you don't know how much of an echo chamber you're in until you leave that echo chamber. I mean, I from DC, I live in Houston, and those are two pretty blue cities. Then I go up to Crawford County, and I mean everyone there's a Republican. It's crazy just to see and just have those conversations with people. And they're just like us. I mean, it's crazy to say. Democrats love to talk shit about Republicans. They love to call them stupid hicks and stuff like that. No, they're normal people with normal concerns, and it's good just to have that conversation with them and say, "Hey, why are you voting this way? Why did you vote for Donald Trump?" "Oh, I voted for Trump because I think he's going to be good on the economy." I was like, "Well, don't you dislike the fact that he's a sexual predator?" "Oh, I don't give a shit about that. He's good on the economy." I mean, just stuff like that. I don't know.
Noah, did you when have you gotten to the part of a drift? Because I read that too. I actually have a signed copy from Scott.
That's so cool.
I got it from like Twitter, like
Nice.
probably like 2021, 2022. He sent me one, but there's a chart where it shows the um, productivity gap and like what companies produce. And like labor and productivity were pretty well correlated up until I think it was 1979. And I think people like my parents and people in the Erie County area, they've seen jobs, good blue collar union jobs at General Electric. General Electric's gone. It's now Wabtec. Hammermill's gone. We used to have Kaiser Aluminum. All those opportunities are just they've just evaporated. And I don't know. We I agree that we need some sort of like infrastructure project where we can put an entire generation of men to work. I think that really turns things around. And we also have to get, I don't know who thinks this now, or if it's like something that's like omnipresent from beforehand, but if you have to show up to a job, like that's sacred. Labor is sacred. I don't care if you're a nurse. I don't care if you're a lawyer. I don't care if you're a contractor or carpenter. You show up to a job and you put in work, like you deserve a greater share of the profits. And I mean, what is it? I think there's something like there's 336 million people in the country, and there's $21.2 trillion of like wealth out there. Like, where has that wealth gone? Because we're not seeing it. And
Hmm.
and it's not going to small businesses either. And I think that people confuse or conflate. It's just like we don't want to super we don't want to tax everything your small business makes. Like you're small, you are exponentially closer as someone who is worth $10 million to someone that is homeless than you will ever be to Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk.
100%.
And
And and it's just like, hey man, we all kind of if you're making under like if your net worth is under $50 million, you're kind of all on the same team right now because we're going to be bought up. And when shit gets bad in the economy, like the giants are going to buy your businesses at a discount because they're going to be worth less and they have all the leverage.
Hmm.
How do we
it,
get that cash flow? Trickle down economics doesn't work, man. And
Nah.
like we
So
just go
guys, I
ahead,
swear
sorry.
it's going to trickle down someday.
Oh, jeez.
this is also in a drift. I made a TikTok about this today as well. Since 1980, so basically since Reagan and trickle down economics happened, between 1980 and 2013, the difference between the weight like the income rising for the 1% compared to the bottom 99%, it rose 120% more in those 33 years. Because until then, it was a fairly equitable system. And we still had the best economy, we still had the most innovation, we still had the most research and development, and we had the best infrastructure.
And that's why Republicans focus so much on culture war. I mean, they don't have anything to run
Mhm.
on.
They
They it's just to divide us to make sure that we disagree with each other. I mean, a woman getting an abortion is not going to affect you every day. I mean, if a trans kid uses the bathroom, that's not going to affect your everyday life.
oh,
I mean, but the prices of how much billionaires are getting taxed and why can't I afford my home? Why am I losing homeowners insurance or just stuff like that? It's
mhm.
why they do these culture wars. It's just stupid shit.
No, it's just deeply upsetting when you see these people that they don't understand, they don't want to think deeper, they don't want to think critically or use any of those skills, or they don't have those skills, quite frankly. And you're trying to reason with them. There's so many kids as a campus organizer in Erie that I talked to, so many that I was like, your lives will have a significantly different path dependent on who wins in this election.
But do you blame them though? I mean, I don't. I've seen like just to average everyday person because I had that same exact thought as you. But I mean, to them, politics is just a bunch of bullshit, and it's never going to touch me a day in my life, right? I don't blame them. I mean, it's just so much arguing,
I
so much division, or it's like I need to go to my job and pay the bills. Why do I care about what's going on in Washington?
I
I,
think so, also really quickly, and I think this plays into it. You talked about how going to Erie was a different experience for you, given that you've
mhm.
grown up in DC and Houston. At least you've like lived in Houston, like it's a very different culture than like the Northeast. I have literally only lived on the coast my
Yeah,
entire life. I am a coastal elitist to the core. Going to Erie was one of the biggest culture shocks of my entire life. It was awesome, but like I genuinely had such a fun time being there, but it was a massive culture shock. To legitimately the easiest way to phrase it, that is the furthest away that I've been from a well-connected train station in my entire life, counting living in India, counting everything everywhere that I've lived.
It's wild. That's wild, man.
And
that's insane.
What was the biggest thing? What was the biggest culture shock for you guys where you're just like, oh boy, this isn't like Jersey, this isn't Texas or DC anymore.
I
What
have it
was
off the top. I'm sorry for interrupting. The airport,
no,
straight up. I mean, there one flight.
yeah,
I had to rent a car so many times because my car decided to die in Ohio. There was only one flight, and it's to North Carolina. Now there's another flight to Tampa, but you can't go anywhere. I mean, like, you can go places. You're limited on where you can go, or just how isolated it is, kinda. And Erie isn't even that isolated. You're an hour away from Cleveland, an hour away from Buffalo, and 2 hours from Pittsburgh. But it's just wild to me about that.
yo, until I drove to Erie, like I saw some on the drive. I literally had never seen a Trump sign in someone's yard before.
That's wild.
wow, wow, man. You can tell like as you start to drive out into the county, you're like, oh boy,
Not like like because I came across 79, so I literally just had to make like a right turn basically and go up towards Erie. And right after we made that right turn, stop for gas. And the gas station that we stopped at going to use the bathroom, they're literally selling MAGA hats at the gas station. And I was like, I'm gonna get out of here as fast as humanly possible.
Noah, when you come to Houston, I'll take you to Trump Burger.
Great. I'll wear my combo hat.
Please do. Not a good burger.
Oh,
Shame
obviously.
to say. No,
But
like unfortunately, like, genuinely, one of the worst burgers I have ever had. Not like gross.
I mean, are you surprised?
A little.
Uh,
It was
I,
gross.
I just think that in terms of messaging, like if a person with a mortgage and like two kids doesn't care about politics anymore because they've seen it their entire lives and just been desensitized, I get it. A 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, that pisses me off a little bit because literally, not only have you not only will you be impacted by it, but like I'd say there's a very little amount of population that didn't pay attention to politics, at least for a little bit, that's in Gen Z right now, between
Hmm.
2016 and now. Like, there's
I
no
mean,
way that you didn't pay attention during COVID or January 6th or any of that.
you
I
guys, you
I
guys
mean,
like grew up with Trump, which is wild to think about because I was 24 when he was elected, and I was living in Chicago at the time, and I was like, what did we just do? What did we just like? We opened up Pandora's box. Like, I couldn't, I was just like, I can't believe we did it again. But I think the attitude of a lot of people too is like the government has failed me. They watched like the '08 bailouts, people losing their jobs, people losing their homes, and they bailed out the banks for bad behavior, and they didn't bail out the people because it would present a moral hazard. And it's just like, I don't know. I think that's the pervasive attitude is just like, I don't care if he burns it all down because the system doesn't serve me anymore. It's never served
Mm-hmm.
me. And it's just like, I just want to tell everybody you can demand more. You can demand more. You just need to elect better people. And like there's a lot of things I'm a big proponent of. You have to align incentives with desired behavior and like, hey, let's have a real talk about term limits. Let's have a real talk. Like if your congressperson takes lobbying money and they're in their pocket, like vote them out. Vote them out. They're not serving you, they're serving the special interest to get reelected. Like
exactly.
we can all be on that same page. And it will help us all. And
Run
I,
for
Well,
something.
yeah.
I mean, I. By the way, this has nothing to do with our conversation, but I like to ask every like Democrat I know this. Conrad, who'd you support in the 2020 primary for the Democrats?
2020 primary, I think by that time it was already decided because it was like everybody coalesced around Biden
Hmm.
around like the South Carolina primary, and I think ours was a little later. And so by that time, Biden was already locked in. I hate to say it comes with so many negative connotations. I wasn't obnoxious. I wasn't an obnoxious Bernie bro, but he's unapologetically for the people.
Exactly.
And I think that's what people want to see. And it needs to be communicated that we're not talking about your machine shop. We're not talking about your farm. Like we want to give you better tools, but like we need to get the money down to you. We
Hmm.
was from like Amazon, from Facebook, from Meta, just everybody. We need to get the money down to you so that way you can spend it.
Exactly. I mean, we need to fight for what we have produced. I mean, our own fruits of our
Mhm.
labor, just to make sure that it isn't being stolen from us any longer. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I loved about Bernie. I think he legitimately believed what he was preaching. And I was a Bernie supporter too in 2020. I just like to ask that question. I feel like it's a decent litmus test to see where you stand. I mean, like
Mm.
what's the thing they said it was a wine track, beer track, and then all that other stuff. And I mean, I was yeah, I just agree with everything. I think he stands for what he believes, and that's why Bernie was such a great candidate, and that's why they got so scared in that South Carolina primary. I mean, he legitimately stood for change, and they tried to do everything they could to stop that change, the establishment.
Mm. And I think that's why people got upset too. I think a lot of people think Bernie got railroaded twice. Um,
On
I
that
don't
people.
know.
Yeah.
And I mean, they have a point. They have a point. I think it's okay to not trust um Democrats too. I mean, a lot of it, like they have kind of let us down. They have.
100%.
And
Oh, sorry to cut you off.
no, 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 go ahead. Go ahead.
I legitimately made this point to my sister today, where legitimately I'm a little bit more mad at the Democrats for enabling all of this to happen again than I am for Trump for
Mhm.
doing it again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because you knew exactly what he was going to do. And what really clean pisses me off is the fact that you spend the entire last 2 years crying about how he's a threat to democracy and how he's just horrible in the worst ways and all of that. And then within days of him getting inaugurated, you're already capitulating to things that he wants you to do, and you're already getting scared.
Yeah.
And you're no longer saying that, oh, he's a threat to democracy.
I think
Yep.
like we need to talk about too, how do you let Biden run for president again looking like that? Like, how do you let him go out on the debate stage and do that in front of everybody? And I think that violated a lot of people's trust. I look at that as like, I don't know if we were ever digging ourselves out of that hole.
I
I
I 100% agree.
Yeah, I think Joe Biden is in the top three at least of presidents that we've had in the last 100 years in the United States in terms of things that he got done. However, him running for the first time, saying that he was just basically a journeyman quarterback, basically saying, "Yep, I'm Josh McCown. I'm just here until you get a rookie, and then I'll get out of here after the culture set."
He
And
never said
then,
that. I just want to point that out. That's a common misconception. He never really, it was implied, but he never came out and said that I'm serving one term. I hear a lot of people say that, but he
mhm,
he did never say that. I'm sorry for interrupting.
fair, still, as an 82-year-old,
Oh, 100%.
you got to be like
I,
you gotta know when it's time to hand the ball off.
exactly. No,
And
If
I
you're in the
get, well, sorry, but
no,
like,
no, no, no. If you're at the age where like you're talking about maybe taking the license away from like your grandparents, they're not good enough to be behind the wheel of a vehicle. M Maybe we shouldn't have you responsible for everybody.
I agree.
And man, the people who said Biden was too old and did, oh man.
who was that dude in Minnesota? What was his name? Dean something, Dean Phillips. That man
Yeah.
was correct.
Hmm.
Who knew? No, I mean Joe Biden is literally past the age of the average American life expectancy in this
Yeah,
country. I mean everything
but
he's got right now is just house money.
the thing is, putting myself into his shoes, I would have done the same thing because
$100%.
he no, not even because like, oh, I want to be president and I've worked my entire life for this, but he was objectively doing a phenomenal job. Like, apart from the economy, apart from infrastructure, we forget that the oldest president we've had is the only one to go into an active war zone that wasn't controlled by the U.S. military.
Hmm.
Like,
That's wild.
the fact that that did not get the coverage at all compared to like Donald Trump going golfing on a Saturday,
Yep,
like that is a legitimately probably one of the biggest, I don't know, just claims against CNN or whatever, even like the liberal news media, that you guys suck.
The
and
liberal news media, it just doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
It's the liberal news media is just something that's synonymous with an opinion I don't like. That's all it
yep,
is. That's what the liberal news media is. And like, I mean, if we're being honest about it, the whole how TikTok went away, came back, these tech giants bending the knee, um, that's very concerning. It's
it is.
very, very concerning that the conservatives dominate the modern media space
It
100%.
it's very scary that they bitch and moan about how, oh, we don't have a safe space to speak, we don't have any of this shit. Well, you have every network. You have the number one cable network in America, Fox News. You have Twitter, who's owned by a right-wing maniac, Elon Musk. You have CNN is moving to the far right at this point. Not far right, but they're moving to the right. They're owned by a conservative. I mean, you have the three major platforms. Hell, TikTok now is bending the knee. Mark Zuckerberg is also bending the knee. I mean, they have everything they've ever wanted, and they're still complaining. And
I, I s-
they,
sorry to cut you off, but this is kind of a transition, so I can wait for a second if you want to keep this conversation going. But I think what my overall theory has like what I'm starting to feel is like we're basically in the same spot that the world was in 100 years ago at this time,
Hmm.
where we're in the middle of like a gilded age. There are right-wing governments in most of the major areas of the world. There are some little conflicts brewing, nothing like disastrous yet, but there's little conflicts on. And also, like I saw it on Instagram today, it's on my Instagram story. The last time that the Republicans had the presidency, the Supreme Court in both houses was 1928. And
It's
what
yeah,
happened?
poor it's poor economic management to put all your eggs in one basket.
100%.
yeah,
And the thing is like when this wealth gets concentrated, it's this is very unstable. And honestly,
I
it's better
with
economic risk management if like the people had more money. Because like if a smaller firm fails, it's not going to have a contagion effect on the whole economy.
mhm. Like this kind of goes into what happened this week with Nvidia.
Mm,
Like if Chinese AI technology is legitimately much better than what we have, that means that probably Nvidia, Meta, Microsoft, literally every single tech giant that has made such a major play and investment into AI, their stock prices are going to go down at such a high level. And literally the big seven tech firms have most of the S&P 500 in terms of value and market value. Our economy, like that is legitimately Great Depression level scaredness if
hmm
they're that much better.
and think about all the firms who are invested in like are kind of dependent on Meta, on 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 on, on like it will be a financial contagion, and yes, it is going to be big. It will be unprecedentedly
And
big.
what my prediction is for these like economically under Trump is we will have a extremely bad economic situation within the next 2 years. He just announced tariffs on Canada and Mexico. And what's going to happen? Like the Trump thing has always been to like threaten tariffs and then try to negotiate new deals that are better for the US in his words. However, you give companies an excuse the way our style of capitalism is set up. You give them an excuse to charge people more money. They're going to charge people more money. Coffee
yep,
prices went up within hours of the entire Columbia thing last weekend.
yeah. They're gonna nickel and dime the American people no matter what. Even
100%.
look at egg prices. There is the bird flu's going around, but like, why the hell is a carton of eggs? Well, that video you sent me is $12
It's
for
$12.
24 eggs. That's ridiculous. That's $2 an egg. mean, they're gonna find a way to screw us over, and people need to
And
be vigilant on that.
what I think will hopefully end up happening from this is I hope people just individually realize how much power we have as the American public if we come together on certain issues.
Hmm.
Like I legitimately am still confused as to what the status of like aid programs is right now, given everything that happened
Mhm.
this week. But we bullied them like we constantly bullied their ass. They got sued. Everything happened and they were trying to revert back a day later. And we
Mhm.
can keep doing that. We can use our money to do that. Stop using meta stuff.
Yeah,
Like
Mhm.
just even like little changes make a huge difference. Like Starbucks fired their CEO last year because of how poorly they did after people started boycotting.
Vote with your dollars. I mean,
Yep.
I know, and
If
it's really really hard for. It's really easy for me to say as a dink, right? Like I'm not. I try to not shop at Walmart. We try to go to like Aldi's still a big chain though. Wegmans is still a big chain. We try to shop local as much as possible. I understand it's not feasible for everybody, but like, yeah, don't buy books off of Amazon. Go to your bookstore. Keep the money local because like when
yeah,
you spend $1 in Erie, Pennsylvania at an Erie, Pennsylvania business, like that dollar so that dollar goes to that business owner instead of going to like
mhm,
Arkansas where Walmart's headquartered or Seattle or the Silicon Valley. It's
yeah,
keep the money local as much as you can. I know,
Exactly.
like I said, I know that's easy for me to say, and people aren't as well off. They have to shop at Walmart. Um, and like that's okay. But if you can vote with your dollars, we don't have a
uh,
choice. We need
like
to.
Exactly.
when we were in Erie, like we used to joke about stimulating the local economy when we, wanted to irresponsibly spend money at the card shop or at Prest. But like legitimately post COVID, like every time I go to like an independent bookstore, I'm like, I want to buy something just so that these people have money in their pocket and they keep running. Which, if I could show you all this entire room right now, I have way too many books. But it's like it's just like the right thing to do. And not even that, like it's you gotta do it for the local businesses because while they claim to be good for business, they being the Republican Party, the small business help was gonna come if the other candidate won.
Yep. I mean, and yeah, 100%. Like a dollar goes much further for a local business, and I mean, in Texas, it's a huge chain here, but HEB is they're the biggest grocery store in Texas, but they do a phenomenal job for the community. All that money stays in Texas. They don't donate a ton of money to Republicans. They don't donate a ton of money to Democrats. I think they build playgrounds. They do a lot of nutrition programs, and I mean, it just helps. Just find, even big companies find something that your values agree on. I know there's websites
Mm-hmm.
that do that, but I
I
think
think
I agree.
if they're gonna use capitalism as their means of profitability, we can use capitalism as a way to control them.
Exactly.
And
Mhm.
I think that's just collectively in terms of how you're spending your money, in terms of just if we just flood the zone with our own content, which I think has been
Mhm.
happening a lot more in the last like since January 20th. I think Democratic leaning voices have done a very good job of just flooding the zone with content and making their voices heard. And I've just seen it with my little ass platform where like the video that I made talking about the Lakers and how they should trade for De'Aaron Fox, the watch time on that was like an hour and a half. The watch time on every single TikTok I've made about politics has been above 3 hours.
Damn. Nice.
Like there is so much more engagement, whether good or bad. Now, some unbased, real mean things have been said about me, which TikTok does a very good job getting rid of the hate comments so that you like I just like go look at them for fun just to see what people are saying and if I want to be annoying. Like, y'all, I made the video about the plane crash and like Trump's handling of it this morning,
Hmm.
right? And one of the comments was like, bro should hit the gym and like watch his calories instead of yapping about other people's problems. It took all of the self-control to not just do like a 2 minute stand-up special on the way Trump looks. I wanted to so bad. I was just sitting in the car. I wanted to so badly. I was like,
My favorite thing is the he claims to be was it 6'4", 238. I mean, that is the exact height and weight of
Derrick
Derrick
Henry.
Henry. He is not Derrick Henry.
But I think just it comes down to they they are popular. Like Donald Trump is popular in a way because he behaves like an asshole,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and the people that like him can sort of just like, yep, see, he's angry at the world, so am I. And I think that kind of like plays into it. And I think we had something going with the weird strategy earlier in the campaign, which once again, no clue why we went away from. But
Consultants.
oh, fuck them. But but I think you got to be just as you got to be just as annoying back on the internet. Like you got to be cocky. You got to I think you have to leave the door open for conversation, but you also have to let people know that they made an extremely stupid decision.
I agree.
It's
Oh, I'm sorry.
no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I 100% agree. I mean, we gotta be assholes and we gotta stand on what we believe. But at the same time, we definitely, what I like to say is walk a mile in their shoes, see where they're coming from. Why are they voting for Trump? Why are they voting this way? But I mean, anger is a secondary emotion. It is much harder to be angry than it is to be like joyful, happy, all that stuff. So tell your Democrat people, people on the left, tell them just stay angry, stay pissed off. I mean, we need to keep this momentum. We need to keep people mad. We need to keep people just like like awake, I guess.
Yeah.
Just show them where they should be mad at. I don't know. Just stuff like
Yeah.
that, pretty much.
I think
Yeah.
the fact oh sorry, Conrad.
No, no,
This is
no,
like
no,
30
no,
seconds. Um,
no.
but I think the fact that like, his press conference after this horrific plane crash and how he handled it in probably once again the worst, like the most least presidential way possible, as always with Donald Trump. And immediately you go on TikTok, you go on Instagram now, and you're seeing people criticize him. And you're
Yeah.
seeing his comments, and then you're seeing people's reactions to those comments, and you can see like a live critique on it. I think that is a phenomenal thing that needs to keep happening every day. It sucks because it adds to my doom scrolling. However, I think that is extremely beneficial because
Yeah.
I know for a fact that there are Republicans that I know, there are Trump supporters that I know that have scrolled through and looked at every single one of my Instagram stories,
hmm
right? And that makes me happy. I'm happy that you see me saying these incredibly mean things about you.
It's a really hard balance. I think it, it- with the Trump voter, I think it's been like an indoctrination since Reagan of like government is the problem, voodoo economics, trickle down economics. Um, but overall, like we have to separate the people. I hate to say it this way. We have to separate the monsters from the ill-informed.
Bingo.
And like the people who defend the Nazi salute are different than the people who, yeah, they collect their paycheck, they want to do other things with their time, they're not as invested. Should they be? Yeah, but they're not. And again, we have to meet them where they're at. And it's a really fine balance. I don't think everybody who voted for Trump is malicious or dumb or I just think right now they haven't I don't want to say learned the right things, but they haven't learned enough to make the best educated decision.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Harris was going to win on the economy. I
Me
was
too.
like
Me too.
$50,000 tax deferment for small businesses, like that opens Susie and I, my wife and I were talking about, we're like, what would we do with that? That opens the door to like bust our ass, to work really hard, maybe struggle for a decent amount of time, but it's ours. We could create something that was ours. And it just blew my mind when what economic plan is there? Like tariffs are just they're
Gonna kill
inflationary
us.
for us. They're horrible. It's a horrible economic policy.
I
And going
think.
back,
Oh, go ahead, Oliver.
going back though to the $50,000, it brings back the meritocracy. Meritocracy. You work your ass off, you're going to get your money. I mean, that's
Mhm.
how it is. We're not a meritocracy anymore. I mean, I don't know the exact term, but like the rich are going to stay rich and the poor are going to stay poor. You can't really work your way up anymore. I mean, we're going to be the first generation, me and Noah, and you too, Conrad, where we're going to be poorer than our parents most likely. And the fact that people aren't aware of that or they don't know that, that's a fucking shame.
And I think that goes back into the younger men crisis because most Gen Z women are, you know, they are much more successful than Gen Z men right now as a
Yep,
group, like
yep.
incredibly so, which I think in a way is very, very cool and kind of needed. Where, like, maybe if our generation is the first one where women have more money and women are a little bit more successful, I think that can go a long way in balancing some other imperfect things out in our society in the US. However, I think what happens is when you have democratic platforms that, as they should be, are focused on inclusion, they're focused on a lot of other things. The younger men are like, where is the stuff that's supposed to help me? And then when Vice President Harris's competitors doing like the she's for they them and the prison ads for trans people, that's what they're going to see because that ad was shown at least 10 times during every single football game in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Every Eagles game, every Texas A&M game, everything, every single
Everything.
game.
They flood the zone. Then you got like even then literally anybody that you go listen to on the internet is saying, oh, they're too focused on social issues, they're too focused on the LGBTQ community. Which like there's still that plan was much better for our generation than this plan is.
Yep.
That plan would have done a lot more. Like I think what people on base level need to like realize is that just because a billionaire likes a policy does not mean that that policy is good for the economy or good for you. It just means that it's good for them.
Yep.
And I don't think people realize that.
Do
And
your own
then
research.
I also think too we have very poor, easily communicated standards of what a good economy is. Because the market is only good if you have money in it.
Yep.
If you can't put money in the market and you can't make money on your money and you're a
Mm-hmm.
laborer, like you are stuck right now.
And I think that's a big mistake that like Biden and the Democrats made is because the market
Mhm.
has been really good, but not like you said, not everybody can invest in the stock market. Not everybody either financially or just knowledge. Not everybody can invest in the stock market. And I think that obviously that's a very real thing, but also I've seen this a couple of times in the like a still like for a country of the United States size, scope, and power, there's still a large amount of our population that can't read past a fifth grade level.
Yep.
And I think that should be priority number one, especially in local governments. Priority number one should be just fixing that. Because I think what's happening now in the US, obviously, like the wealth disparity between the 1% and the 99% is huge, but there's also a massive discrepancy between in education of this country.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is, I've been rewatching West Wing, and this is touched very heavily in West Wing, is this education disparity. And I still think that we live in a world where that is extremely true, where people see Democrats as these elitist, Ivy League educated people, and they somehow see Republicans as more of like a everyman person, even though Donald Trump has a degree from UPenn that his dad probably bought him and has had a silver spoon his entire life.
Well, I'm sorry. Sorry for interrupting. I would like to say, I mean, that's how Democrats portray themselves as, though. I mean, we portray ourselves as elitist. I mean, Ivy League educated. If you didn't go to an Ivy League school, I'm sorry, you don't deserve a job with us. I mean, look at, I'm not going to say that, but like, I mean, but that's how we portray ourselves, and that's the problem. That's why John Fetterman was so successful because he wears the Carhartt shorts, the Carhartt hoodies. He's a working man. No, but he was Ivy League educated. I mean, you're right. We need someone to go portray not even portray, just working class people need to get involved in democratic politics. You shouldn't be capped on education.
I once again I'll harken back to this guy. This is the third time that I brought him up in the last 2 weeks. Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
I
He's
because
from Pittsburgh.
he's from a blue collar town. He literally worked himself up from the bootstraps. He is an extremely well known person in American popular culture. He's legitimately the liberal Donald Trump. He is
Yeah.
if the liberals want an answer to Donald Trump, Mark Cuban is sitting right there. And on top of everything else, he has legitimately done more than the American government to lower drug costs.
Yeah.
100%. It's like
He
how Kim
has that
Kardashian
going
has
for
done
him
more than
already.
I mean, it's like how Kim Kardashian has done more than the American government to well, she influenced the American government for prison reform. I mean,
Exactly.
it I we had this
Like
discussion last week. I like Mark Cuban, and you have definitely swayed my opinion more on him. But I mean, do we need a Democrats version of Trump? We need someone to fuck shit up. I 100% agree with that. That's what we mentioned earlier.
Here's
But
the thing. What I don't see as someone that's fairly new to this entire political game, as someone who 8 years ago was very happy that Donald Trump was president,
mhm,
what I don't see on the Democratic side is that someone that has like the resume and the charisma to compete with Trumpism. Or and not even to compete with it because like more than likely he's not like we're done in 4 years, more than likely. However, you need someone to unite the progressives and the traditional Democrats, like he united the Republican Party, or just had the power to tell anybody that didn't want to jump on the ship to get out.
I've mentioned this to you off camera and in general. I think the guy is Tim Walz. I think that's your perfect. That's who I want to run in 2028. I think Tim Walz is the perfect person to run. He unites the left, he unites the right, and he knows how to use his political capital well. Look at Minnesota. He had a one-seat majority. He banned assault rifles. He got free school lunch. He got all this stuff. Minnesota is one of the best economies in America. He has done nothing but a phenomenal job for that state. And I think I am a Tim Walz supporter. I think Tim Walz should be the nominee in 28.
I love Tim Walz. I think he's a guy that would be a fantastic president, like an insanely good president, but a shitty candidate, in my opinion.
No, I disagree with because we this is where our discussion inevitably goes to is that he's not a shitty candidate. He's the person who came up with the weird stuff. The problem is you keep a guy on script too long who shouldn't be on script. That's where he's going to fold. Joe Biden should
Mhm.
not be on script. Joe Biden does his best work when he's off script, right? Donald Trump should not be on script. He does his best work off script. The dude is a phenomenal orator. He's a phenomenal speaker. All this stuff. He can't debate great, but so what? Debates don't matter in modern American politics. Look at Donald Trump having one of the worst debate performances ever and still winning every single swing state. I think I think he's a great candidate. I don't know. We have a disagreement on this, but I
No, like, see, if he were the candidate in 2028, would I more than happily go work for him and help him get elected? 100%. I think, like I said, I think he would make a phenomenal, phenomenal president. I just don't know if he will be. I just don't know what issues pop up on that campaign with him.
yeah, that's fair. I mean, there's and that's with every campaign though.
I like, because once again, like I said, fairly new into this whole entire thing.
Yeah.
Like,
No, you're right.
on her basis, like just based off resume, based off charisma, based off everything, Kamala Harris is probably one of the best candidates that has run for president in this country.
She was a great candidate. I think there's a lot of unfortunate things holding her back.
No,
That
that's what I'm saying. Like, we
I
don't
I'm going to give
know.
you a hot take. In my
Mhm.
opinion, I think Tim Walz was the strongest part of that ticket. I think he was the most popular member. I mean, I am a Tim Walz supporter. And obviously the way I've spoken about him for the last 5 minutes, I am obviously a huge supporter. I've been a supporter of him since he first ran for governor of Minnesota. I think that she there was a lot of issues with her and her campaign, and a lot of those issues go back to the people who are surrounding her, who she listened to, and all that stuff. And
And
that's where
that's
I like
what,
Tim Walz is he surrounds himself with very, very good people, I think, from what I could gather. But again, I don't know.
see, we don't know because I think that right now the traditional Democratic establishment is at a point of reckoning where they got to figure out what works and what doesn't work and just winning elections. Like, don't think about anything else. Just figure out how to win.
And I don't think Kamala's that person though to win, unfortunately.
I
I think if you take Kamala Harris and her upbringing in California and you
Mhm.
just insert all of that experience into like Detroit, Michigan,
Yes, yes. That's the point. A
I
hundred
mean,
percent agree. She
I'll
she is I I you know I her resume phenomenal. She's a great person. We are in a point in America where unfortunately for the next couple of years, a woman, let alone a black woman, probably will not be the president,
oh,
especially
100%.
running against Donald Trump or running against this
100%.
MAGA movement. I think and I will disagree with the fact that I don't know if she was the best political candidate to run of all time. Resume wise, she was
Oh,
phenomenal.
not all
Not
time.
all the time, but up there though. She was way more qualified than Donald Trump to be president, way more qualified than JD Vance to be president. She has governing experience at every level pretty much. But I I think going back to that primary, because you sent the polling, it was Harris, Buttigieg, Newsom, just going down that list. I hate well, I don't hate, I like Harris. I think Harris is my number two option to run in 4 years. I hate Newsom and I hate Shapiro. I don't want any of those people to run, including Buttigieg. I because they are everything that we were talking about. They are for those people who are the corporations. They are for all those people who are not for yourself, not for the everyday working person. Whereas in
See,
Tim Walz and Kamala Harris are, and that's where I'm sorry, I'm gonna end fairly soon, but that's where Harris fell off. I think she fell off because she was too focused on these tech giants and on these corporations. She wasn't focused enough on the everyday issue, as in Donald Trump. Because you would talk to Donald Trump, he'd bring back that conversation would always end up with one of two things: the economy and why egg prices are too high, and immigration. Harris would just didn't focus on those everyday kitchen table issues.
I agree with you in a way. I also think that the overall point where we started to fuck up was when we started to go after Republican voters and Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney ended up on the campaign trail somehow.
Yes, yes.
Because
Mhm.
that scared the progressives,
Yep.
right? I think that with a guy like Pete Buttigieg, and I was thinking about this today. I think Donald Trump, like calling out Pete Buttigieg, I don't know if that was a great idea to give Pete a platform that he can just step right into right now and
Mhm.
start eviscerating you on every single show because he'll go on every single show. And I think that's the other thing that I'm genuinely shocked by is like literally like and Conrad, you mentioned this earlier. No one has opened their mouth on the left to yap since Donald Trump's been
Yes,
president. And
yes.
that is it's only been 10 days, but that is inexcusable.
100%. It's
I would
ridiculous.
say like the left needs almost to get canceled, but like be a little more crass. Like talk how people talk. I'm not saying we have to like say anything overtly offensive, but it's okay if you say asshole.
Yep.
That
Just like we need to be more frank, we need to be more vulgar. We need to
Unhinged.
connect with the everyday person and have that shock value. Like Donald Trump said, grab him by the pussy. Like what what could anybody say like worse than anything that's been said by that man? But it's just like we need to be more real. We just
I
need to
A
be
think
hundred
more
percent.
real.
I
And
think
the worst, oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's just why I keep going back to Mark Cuban and Stephen A. Smith.
And the worst part about that, though, is, and I 100% agree with you, Conrad, just straight up, we need to be more vulgar. We need to be more crass. We need to be more just unhinged. But the worst part about it is we're going to get killed by ourselves. Democrats will kill themselves. Look at Al Franken, that whole
Mhm.
situation, right? Uh,
Yeah.
he we love shooting ourselves in the foot more than anything else. That is Democrats' favorite pastime. We'll have a perfect candidate who's done nothing wrong, and then they'll say there's one thing he did wrong, and then they'll shoot himself in the foot and say we can't run him. He did this 200 years ago. I don't know, just some shit like that.
Yeah, and I think that plays into the reason why no Democratic candidate has been super relatable to the American public since Barack Obama.
Yep.
There's like too many boundaries and constraints that you have to navigate, and that takes away from
Like
a candidate's authenticity.
100%.
Exactly.
And I think that once again, I think that if Kamala Harris had had enough time, the authenticity would have fully shown through to the American public. Because at least in our interactions in Erie, and it was very stilted. Like I got to shake hands with her and stuff. But just the fact that she stayed for like a full 30 minutes after all of us left
Yeah.
is extremely authentic and not what every politician would do.
She shook hands with everyone in that line. She shook hands with a minimum 200 people in that line. It
Right.
was insane.
And I just think that like we have authentic candidates. Like I think in COVID with everything going on in that campaign, Joe Biden's authenticity shown like shine through. Like and I also think what helped Joe Biden a lot in his presidential run is the fact of all the grief that he has been through as a parent and as a just in his own family, what he's been through. I think that really helped connect with the American people at a time where almost everybody knew someone that passed away because of COVID.
Mhm.
And I think in 4 years, the economy is probably going to be in shambles. Our belief in the government and our belief in institutions, like air travel, has been one of the most safest things in this country since 9/11.
It's safer than driving. I mean, the most dangerous part of air travel is driving to the airport.
Like, and what happened yesterday and the way that they have treated that and the steps that led
That's
up to it, legitimately, any if this was a Democratic president, there would be calls for impeachment already.
Yeah, no, it's
yeah.
it's inexcusable. I
And
mean, for God's
But with
sakes,
the actions that happened before,
it's
absolutely.
so fucking stupid that no, I like they might lose, but no Democrat has even like started a conversation in Congress about impeachment yet. Like you're not gonna get it through, but at least put that conversation out into the
I
ether.
I will disagree with you on the impeachment thing. I don't think there's anything to impeach him about yet, but I see your point. We need to keep fighting and we need to keep pushing.
Like they've just been cowards, quite frankly.
Oh, 100%. And that's the Democrats. That's what we do best. We're fucking cowards. We don't want to fight. And that's what I hate about just the leadership of the Democratic Party. Your Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, they are not willing to fight. They're not willing to go to war. And we need someone who's able to go to war. I mean,
Like I
Yeah,
hate Mitch Mc
we need an anger translator. Remember that Key and Peele?
yep,
Yep.
Like I like when Chuck Schumer gets up and he talks, I'm just like ready to go to bed.
Yeah.
he's
It's
very
awful.
sleepy.
Like imagine that's why I keep getting back to it. Mark Cuban, Stephen A. Smith, personalities that we've grown up with our entire lives, people that you see on TV time and time again, very successful people in their own fields. If they start becoming a part of the messaging of the Democratic Party, and I don't think either of them would get through a primary at all. However, just using them as messengers, if they think that they have a shot at winning and they just start building a political profile out there, I think that would be very, very beneficial for Democrats.
I would have loved Cuban to run. I would love to see Cuban run for governor or senator of Texas. I think that'd be a very interesting race.
Oh,
I mean, he should have ran against
oof.
Cruz, if I'm being honest.
Oh,
Like that,
100%.
and I think Colin Allred he was an all right candidate. I don't think that's the thing with Texas. We don't have strong candidates. But Cuban, I mean, he has the money to self-fund. I mean, the Texas media markets are one of the most expensive, so he can buy ads. He doesn't need to raise that much money. He knows how to get on TV, stuff like that.
Yeah. And
I
also, when the economy is the biggest issue, you have a extremely successful, like legitimately self-made entrepreneur.
Yep,
Who
exactly.
cares about people? Who cares about
Exactly.
people? Who
That's the
has
biggest
demonstrated
thing.
that I will save you thousands on medication. I found out how to do it in the private sector. So
I'll
like
do it in the
let's try
public
to
sector.
maybe implement this like here's something we can do with the government or here's something we can do with the private sector. Like he wants to help people too.
Like legitimately, like I said, I don't think he would win a primary. However, Mark Cuban with a very progressive vice presidential candidate would be an ideal ticket in my mind.
I'm going to be honest with you. I could see him winning a primary. I mean, depending on who the candidates are. I mean, if it's like Kamala Harris, probably not. But if it is a Pete Buttigieg, Josh Shapiro, Gavin Newsom, one of those type of primaries, he could 100% win. Like if it's
100.
a crowded field, one on one, no, but crowded field, yeah, he's got a very good shot.
Also, because like, say he does win a Democratic primary and he's going up against JD Vance, he is going to campaign so much better than that guy,
Hmm.
right? Like, I think Mark Cuban against anybody that the Republicans could put up, just running a campaign against them would be phenomenal.
JD kind of
Absolutely.
scares me as a candidate, if I'm being honest. I don't know. He is able to stay
Hmm.
on message better than Trump. I mean, he's only done politics for 2 years, but I kind of hope they don't run a JD Vance because he legitimately because he's able to blur that line between fake pro labor, fake pro just everyday
But
person.
we're gonna have a laundry list of all the bullshit that they've done in 4 years by the time you even claim to
Well,
find
I
them.
mean, it was genius. I don't know if McConnell did this on purpose or not, but forcing him to confirm Hegseth
Mhm.
be the yes vote to break the tie in
That
the
was
Senate.
phenomenal.
That's I mean that's he owns that decision. So whatever that guy does, which that can end up wild, he's going to be responsible for.
That's the other thing that I think we're not thinking about yet is that post Donald Trump, the Republican Party is going to be in shambles.
I agree.
They do not have anybody that has even dared to have a voice because anybody that stands up to Trump or tries to get like just have an equal platform, Trump gets rid of very quickly,
Yeah,
right?
we
Dude,
were just talking about the Democratic people. I mean, the Republican, I mean, despite what I was saying earlier, we have a bullpen. I mean, we
Yeah,
have Newsom, we have Shapiro, we have Buttigieg, we have Harris
and
again if she wants to go out there. But
I
Republicans, who do
think
they have? Their strongest
exactly,
candidates are going to be J.D. Vance, Donald Trump Jr., Brian
do you
Kemp.
think
Brian Kemp
Musk
is going to be
goes?
Musk. No, he can't. He's not
Oh
naturalized.
yeah. I'm so sorry. Oh my
no,
gosh.
you're good.
No, I wouldn't be shocked though. I mean, he would pull some shit like that. They will
I
bring it to the
mean,
Supreme Court.
if they want to change that law and let naturalized citizens run who weren't born here for Elon Musk and just keep that there, I'd be very happy.
Yep. I
Just
mean,
personally,
I
I'd be
think
happy.
I know you'd be happy. I think realistically, I I think their best candidate to run in 4 years, if I'm a Republican, is Brian Kemp, and it's not even close. I think Kemp is he's not crazy MAGA, but he's able to appeal to MAGA voters. He's never been in federal government, so you can keep that outsider brand. He's he's done. I mean, despite he's been very successful in the state of Georgia, one of the fastest growing states in the country. And I hate Brian Kemp, but that is a terrifying candidate to run against.
It is the one good thing with a Brian Kemp candidacy is like it'd be a little shift back to normal republicanism,
Yes,
Mm.
right? Which would be a good thing.
it would.
But I also think that, and I think they will be compelled. They go full MAGA again, and it's not, and like none of the people that are up there have the charisma that Trump has.
Yep.
Um, they risk
DeSantis.
they risk completely killing the Republican Party for a little bit. Because what I
I,
think if we find the right candidate, what I think happens after this is what FDR was able to do 100 years ago.
I
Yes.
don't
Not
know.
not not like
I
a
hope.
three not a three-term situation, obviously, and not like at that
Mhm.
level, because hopefully no World War III because nukes. But
Hmm.
I think you'll be able to have someone that there'll be so much like you said something about like just getting good government jobs for young men to do.
Hmm.
That's what FDR did as soon as he got there.
Yeah.
And I think
Mm,
that's
Yeah.
just gonna happen.
I think we're not going to have a choice.
Oh, not at all. Like
I think if the Canada also where did tariffing China go? We've like fake tariff Colombia. We're tariffing Canada and Mexico. Where's that 60% tariff on China?
the thing is that all of his little tech bros are they can't have tariffs on China.
They can't have tariffs on Canada or Mexico.
I mean, that's still a little bit better than China.
No.
Yeah.
Well, can't we get
Well,
so much oil from Canada that
No, oil. I'm talking, dude. I'm just talking about what would hurt the tech bros' bottom line.
I don't listen. This is going to kill us. These Canadian tariffs, like specific, and fuck even Mexico. Number one import. Number one, God, I can't speak English. Our number one importer of oil is from Canada. Our number
Yep,
two is from Mexico, and then
yep,
there's a distant number three to like I think it's like Venezuela or something weird
yeah.
like that. It, we're so fucked with these tariffs. I mean, gas in the next week, if these legitimately do go through, gas prices are going to be like $4 a gallon.
Hmm. And once again, I think that needs to happen for people to get it.
Yep. And
And
um,
it's just a necessary evil. It's gonna suck for us too. But
mhm.
if you're someone out there that is a Trump voter, shit's gonna get very, very bad very fast, and it'll be a direct line to the guy that you voted for.
I mean,
yeah.
that's what makes me sad is they just didn't realize. how bad it could get and how delicate our system
And
is.
I think just once again focusing on younger people because that's who I was talking to leading up to the election. I think a lot of people what they're going to realize now is that we weren't fear mongering.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Like
I'm sorry.
no, like just once again harkening back to this plane crash. The fact that the fact that a president is unilaterally firing people in highly vital and highly important government agencies. Like, I don't care if it's a Democrat president. I don't care if it's a Republican president. No president should be able to unilaterally fire people like that.
Exactly.
And no administration should be able to unilaterally fire people that legitimately cost the lives of 67 people.
Yep. His actions have consequences, and you can point to those 67 people as his
Yep.
consequences. And we
Also,
need,
too, like why is he still blaming Obama and getting away with it? Like he served as president in between that time, and he's bringing in stuff Obama did. It's like, hey, dude, like if it was so bad and this was so inevitable because of it, why didn't you do anything about it?
100%.
because he's a, I don't know. He's just such a fucking idiot. I hate him.
Yeah. No, that's the thing that I hate. Unfortunately, Donald Trump isn't an idiot.
On certain issues, yes, I
No,
will.
no,
I
no.
mean,
He
dude is a
overall,
master politician.
like, he understood perfectly that the Republicans would literally buy into anything that came out of his mouth without using their brains once. And he has
Mhm.
run with that since 2015. And the Democrats, once again, they keep trying to make intellectual arguments, even with this plan thing. Like, I think the messaging needs to be as simple as possible. Like, Trump fired guy in charge of planes crashed into each other a week later. People died.
Yep.
Literally
Yeah.
caveman sentences.
Well, even just explaining, like in the healthcare field with nurses, like there's only one air traffic controller. You need two. Like
Yeah.
if your patient ratios as a nurse go from like 1 to 4 to 1 to 6 or 7 or 8, like that is someone's life. If you're asked to
Yep.
do, if you know, if you, I don't know anything about like construction site management or anything like
Mhm.
that, but if you skimp on safety, like people get hurt. And that can like this type of attitude and mentality and how you run a country and how you run a business like that, it kills us.
Mhm.
And it kills us laborers or it kills the people we're supposed to care for.